Could I now ask the Additional Secretary, Mr. Bhargava, please, to give his address?
A very good morning, Mr. Ramandulu's President, World LPG Gas Association, Mr. Butola, CMD, Indian Oil, Mr. Chen, First Vice President of World LPG Association, Mr. James Rockall, CEO, World LPG Association, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, friends from the media. It is my privilege to be here this morning with you at the regional summit of the World LPG Association being held in Delhi. It is significant that the summit is being held here as India is home to one of the fastest growing LPG markets, and that comes from no other than the CEO of the World LP Gas Association. Further, the summit has come to India in a year which has been declared by United Nations as the International Year of Sustainable Energy for All. And so it gives me immense pleasure to welcome all the delegates and participants, as was said, from 27 countries, 250 delegates, and wish all of you a very pleasant stay in Delhi and in India, and hope you have a nice time here. I'm pleased to note that the theme of the summit is LP gas, exceptional energy, and as the President said, it's really exceptional. It's environmentally clean, efficient, and capable of diverse applications, and making it an outstanding fossil fuel. So it's really exceptional, Mr. President. And further, the market is growing, and also the auto gas, which is cleaner, greener, with a high octane number, is also leading to the growth of this sector. Access to reliable, affordable, and sustainable energy is central to addressing many of today's global development challenges, including poverty, gender inequality, climate change, food security, health, and education. As per International Energy Agency's estimate, which was in 2009, about 2.7 billion people in the world are without access to clean cooking fuel. And in India, it is estimated that this number is 836 million people who partly or wholly rely on traditional biomass for cooking. And it is against this background that we need to appreciate that the LPG penetration in India is almost 50%, with urban coverage being 88% and the rural 19.6%. But that also, as Mr. James pointed out, gives a sign of hope because it's a huge untapped market. India is the fourth largest consumer of LPG in the world after USA, China, and Japan, and the third largest consumer in domestic sector. We deliver 3 million LPG cylinders per day and have a growth rate of 8% per annum. The consumption in commercial and industrial and transport sector is also increasing, as was pointed out earlier. In the commercial and industrial sector, we have a CAGR of 27% over the last 5 years. And in the auto LPG also, the CAGR for the last 5 years is about 30%. And if the world consumption level is any indicator, there is a huge potential. The world percentage, we have in commercial around 7%, industrial 2%, auto 2%. So there's a huge market and a huge potential. Hence, the Indian story is a pointer to the possibilities of to the expansion of LPG sector, not only in India, but in other countries. The government of India has been consistently engaged in improving the quality of life of the people with multi-pronged thrust in promoting inclusive growth. And in this context, the cooking fuel is also an important element. Government of India has therefore accorded significant priority in covering maximum households under LPG. We have a vision 2015, which envisages that all the blocks are like the districts are subdivided into blocks, which are have a population of close to 100,000 people. We'll have at least one LPG distributor, and LPG gas coverage will be extended to 75% of the households by 2015. And we also intend to increase our customer base, which to about 160 million by 2015. It is my belief that access to clean, easy-to-use fuel not only improves the quality of life, but also the productivity, especially of the homemaker. Thus, the focus on underserved and unreached areas. Government has also devised a low-cost LPG distributorship model for rural areas. The scheme, while promoting LPG usage in rural households, also provides entrepreneurial avenues to rural youths. To promote LPG usage amongst the economically deprived sectors, grant of one-time financial assistance towards cost of cylinder is also, etc., is also under consideration. And as Mr. Butola had pointed out, one of the challenges is how to make it the availability cheap and affordable. India's LPG marketing model is evolving, centering on the needs of the customer. Because as one of our principal suppliers said, it's the delight of the customer. Delighted customer will always remain a customer. 90% of the gas is consumed as household cooking fuel, and LPG cylinders are delivered in the kitchen of 131 million customers by 11,000 LPG distributors. The oil marketing companies have elaborate countrywide storage, filling and handling facilities. There are 182 bottling plants dotting the landscape of the country with capacity to fill 11 million tons LPG per year and have a storage capacity of more than 300,000 tons. These companies also operate 607 auto LPG dispensing units, which fuel more than 200,000 tons of LPG into vehicles, primarily cars, in 252 cities. The country has 8 ports having LPG import and handling facilities, and India currently consumes about 14 million tons of LPG, 5% of the world consumption, and is poised to scale up to 21 million tons by 2017. To bridge the ever-increasing gap between demand and indigenous production, government has also encouraged import of LPG by private companies, and close to a dozen private companies are supplementing the availability of LPG in the country. A few of them are active in promoting use of LPG in automobiles, especially. Last year, private companies too imported 432,000 tons of LPG, and their investment in imports infrastructure has strengthened India's bid to make LPG available on universal scale. We plan for the next 5 years to enroll 52 million households in the LPG coverage, and the demand, as I had said, would scale up to 21 million tons with an annual growth rate of close to 7%. And as Mr. Butola said, we are importing close to 5 million tons. However, all this has to be seen in the context of what Mr. Butola had alluded, the subsidy, the pricing thing. And so that is a factor which one would have to reckon. Further, the natural gas growth rate in India, as you all know, is much higher compared to the world growth rate. The gas consumption, natural gas consumption, which is 11% of primary energy, is projected to increase to 20%. Natural gas is equally clean and efficient, and so there is bound to be a higher growth. And the pace of growth would be accelerated by investment in creation of related infrastructure along the entire chain of sourcing, transmission, and distribution. And consequently, we would see that the growth of PNG and CNG would pose a challenge to the LPG sector, at least in the metropolitan towns. And some of these challenges would be ensuring adequate supply and accessibility, increasing affordability, because currently if the LPG is not subsidized, then perhaps the PNG becomes a more, I would say, affordable fuel. Ensuring the availability and accessibility all over the country not only requires refining capacity and imports, but also development of adequate storage, installation, bottling capacities, and transport systems, reliable distributing system, and the avoidance. And as Mr. Butolo said, we need technology so that how we can make the entire supply chain seamless. The existing infrastructure, especially in the ports, is rather inadequate. Internationally, the pipelines are the preferred mode of transport, but in India, only 29% of such transport is through pipeline. Further, due to the insufficient number of tank wagons, 62% of LPG movement is undertaken by road. So there are a lot of issues in the handling, whether it's the handling terminals, import handling terminals, pipeline capacity, tankage capacity, bottling capacity. And the task of addressing distribution issues, especially when we are thinking of expanding it to the rural areas, is really daunting. And the investment required for this handling infrastructure, and as well as the other efficient equipment, are also quite challenging. The safety in transportation, plant operation, and handling in the kitchen are other areas of challenges. I know Mr. James Rokal has certified that we have a safe market. We would like it to be absolutely safe. And that is also an area that how we can use technology to design whether it's the cylinders, the valves, the pipes, or the stoves in such a manner that the usage is not only very easy, friendly, but absolutely, absolutely safe. So there is a scope for technology upgradation in the entire value chain so that the use of LPG becomes absolutely safe with zero risk. And there is, as I said, even a felt need for better designed cylinders, valves, regulators, stoves. And so some of the areas which in the Indian context, as we expand to the rural sector, to those economically underprivileged sectors, are also design of cooktop for 5 kg LPG cylinders, because that makes it the LPG more affordable for a person with a smaller income. Which should have better stability, reliability, and safety features. Also, the development of tamper-evident seal for LPG cylinders with ease of handling, the quality improvements in the LPG equipments, because customer safety is dependent on the quality of LPG equipments, such as the cylinder, the valve, the domestic pressure regulator. And there is a need to identify better materials, not only to increase the safety, but also the life, the reliability of those equipments. I'm sure the deliberation during the summit will throw up ideas, not only for expansion of the market for LPG, but also on the prospects of making LPG more user-friendly and absolutely safe. And with the presence of 250 experts from 27 countries, I'm sure the summit will provide an excellent platform for the local and international gas companies, technology and equipment providers, and other industry players to discuss the latest technological advances in the sector, as well as the future trends in the sector, so as to make LPG available at the best prices, absolutely safely and efficiently. I wish the summit a grand success. Thank you very much.
Additional Secretary, many thanks for those words.